Life in the 1950s, a golden era remembered. The 1950s, a time when life seemed simpler, the world moved a little slower, and people took the time to enjoy the little things. If you close your eyes, you can hear the hum of a Chevy Bel Air cruising down Main Street, the laughter of kids playing outside until the street lights flickered on, and the warm voice of the radio announcer introducing the latest Elvis Presley hit. Let's take a trip back in time and relive the golden era of America. Growing up in the 50s meant a childhood filled with adventure, imagination, and just the right amount of mischief. There were no smartphones, no video games, just the great outdoors and endless summer days. Kids spent hours riding bikes around the neighborhood, playing baseball in the street, and daring each other to climb the tallest trees. I remember running barefoot in the backyard, feeling the freshly cut grass tickle my toes. My best friend Tommy and I would spend whole afternoons down by the creek, skipping stones and catching tadpoles. When the ice cream truck's familiar jingle echoed through the streets, we'd dash home, beg our moms for a nickel, and race back just in time to grab a chocolate cone before it melted in the summer heat. On rainy days, we built forts out of blankets in the living room and listened to the raindrops tapping against the window while Mom baked apple pies. The scent of cinnamon and sugar filled the house, and when she pulled the pie from the oven, we all gathered around the table, eager for that first warm bite. Family was everything in the 1950s. Mom took care of the house, making sure dinner was ready by 6 o'clock sharp. Dad went to work and came home to the sound of the evening news playing on the radio. Sundays were for church, and Sunday nights were spent gathered in the living room, watching The Ed Sullivan Show on a black and white television. Dinner time was sacred. It was when we shared stories about our day, laughed over silly jokes, and occasionally got a stern talking to if we forgot to do our chores. If we were lucky, there'd be a fresh batch of cookies on the table, and we'd argue over who got the last one. And then there were the neighborhood barbecues. The smell of sizzling burgers filled the air, glasses clinked together in cheerful toasts, and neighbors caught up on life while kids ran through sprinklers. The men talked baseball and the latest car models, while the women swapped recipes and kept an eye on the little ones. Music, movies, and the birth of rock and roll. The 1950s weren't just about family and community. They were the dawn of a new era of music and entertainment. If you had a few spare coins, you could head to the local diner, where a jukebox glowed in the corner. With the press of a button, the sweet sound of Buddy Holly or Chuck Berry filled the air, and soon the whole room was tapping their feet to the rhythm. I'll never forget the first time I heard Elvis Presley's Hound Dog on the radio. It was electric, the way he moved, the way he sang. It was unlike anything we'd ever seen before. And then there were the drive-in movie theaters. There was something magical about piling into the family station wagon, spreading a blanket in the back seat, and watching a film under the stars. Whether it was a thrilling western or a romantic comedy, it felt like stepping into another world. The 1950s were a time of optimism. The war was over, jobs were plentiful, and people believed that if you worked hard, you could achieve anything. Families moved into new suburban homes with white picket fence, and owning a car was a symbol of success. I remember the pride in my father's eyes when he bought his first brand new Ford. He spent the entire weekend polishing it until it gleamed. And every Sunday after church, we'd take a drive just for the joy of it. Gas was cheap, the roads were endless, and the world felt full of possibilities. Looking back, life in the 1950s wasn't perfect, but it was a time of hope, strong values, and unforgettable memories. It was a time when neighbors looked out for each other. Families stayed close without distractions, And happiness was found in the simplest things: a warm apple pie, a Saturday night dance, or a backyard ball game. The years may have passed, but the memories remain. The 1950s weren't just a decade. They were a feeling, a way of life. And for those of us lucky enough to have lived it, that golden era will always live on in our hearts.